Tá níos féin gan bhréag ucht is anathe héitis taobh le cúin. Chanan an éan go séasach suirc, go gasach ma héasar go lé gan grúin. Measam gur suacht an bhuain an uim, is tá maran go dúach de chrún na mua. Taran na daun le sleasamh na long ag taringt go teann inar geann cuairt. Tá lasa sin réin gach lé go neon, ní taise don ré ní héan féin eol. Tá bara na gréibh ag déanamh sceol, nach fada bheith gael I ngéhan brón. Measam gur suacht an bhuain an ceol, is tá maran go dúach de chrún na drón. Taran na daun le sleasamh na long ag tarint go teann inar geann fé heol. Tá íbhil mire agus aine óg agus cléana an bhrinnel is áil na snó. Tá mílte agus tiilid an dáin seo fós dá sníomh le buile gur tháinig an leon. Is anmh do maidin áirc an lí, ná buinim chun ratha go farraige síos. Mo dhearca, dá lethe ag farraid de hir, bharcaigh an aire I gara na slí. Measam gur suacht an bhuain is gur bín, is tá maran go dúach de chrún a rí. Taran na long ag scuilte na daun, ag tarint go teann inar geann gan bhuí. Cruinníodh gach duine dil mhíle shréin, go rihan ina chuisle den bhír il bréim. De millig le dlíthe is de crág le cléim, go mólthaigh sé buile le barda an tain. Measam gur suacht an bhuain I géin, is dá maran go dúach de chrúd na dréin. Taran na daun le sleasamh na long, ag tarint go teann inar geann le féir.
Fáilte roimh a cáde chuig FleadhFest na mún, 2000 agus 21. Tugam cuiridíomh teacht lín comcórt tre chuige mún, agus goltúr sever agus stair an cóiltis sa chuige a bhlaise. Come along with us on this trip through Munster and see the cultural heritage that has been handed down to us from the time the Comhaltas was founded 70 years ago, at a time when there was a reawakening in our culture and the heritage, fostered by all those great people who gave their energy and talents to ensure that our culture would survive and prosper in the following years. From the start, the aim was to set up branches, and then that was followed by the setting up of county boards in the various counties of the province, culminating in the formation of Comhaltas Units, or Munster Council, in the year 1960, which took place in Kanturk. Tá dan a bhuiach fad das na daoine a chuir Comhaltas Units bhun, agus na daoine dubrig go díans na contathe éagsúla, so that we could have what we have today. Tá dan a bhuiach fadóibh, agus beidh siad in ar gaoine go deo. Tarlín mar sin, leanhamíd an lócran a las ar sin se roin.
Our traditions were trampled on. We had nowhere to go to play music. We couldn't fit in with the hall where they had foreign stuff, jazz, foxtrots and things. And a lot of the young boys, musicians and dancers, immigrated to England, and there were very few people left to carry on their traditions and the Irish culture. So music was almost gone. And Comhaltas and started an organisation, and they brought whatever musicians were left together, and it started from there. And thank God, it has come back again better than ever.
In January 1951, representatives of the Dublin Pipers Club went to Mullingar for a meeting with some Westmeath traditional music enthusiasts. Two ideas were discussed at this meeting. The first was the founding of an organisation to promote Irish traditional music, while the second was the organising of an annual festival of Irish traditional music, song and dance. A further meeting was held in February 1951. And it was decided, in conjunction with the annual Feis Lorna Héireann in Mullingar, the first Fleadh Cheoil would be organised in May. The first Fleadh was held on Whit Sunday, May the 13th, and Monday, May the 14th, 1951, in Mullingar. The Fleadh programme included competitions in music and dancing, a concert featuring Leo Rossum and Máire Nihio, a historical lecture and a céilí with Ceoltóirí na Bia Baríolann. The festival was a remarkable success and attracted musicians from throughout Ireland, many whom had never had the chance to meet with other musicians in such large numbers. At a meeting in St Mary's Hall, Mullingar, on January the 6th, 1952, this newly founded organisation became known as Comhaltas Units. From this point on, through the work of Comhaltas, Irish traditional music, song and dance would grow from strength to strength, and branches of Comhaltas began to be formed around Ireland and Munster. In the 1950s, a number of music festivals under the auspices of Comhaltas Ceoltóirí took place around the province, organised by some newly founded Comhaltas branches. The first such gathering took place in December 1953 in Abbeyfeale, when the newly formed Comhaltas branch in Abbeyfeale organised a one-day festival of music in the vocational school. Musicians came from all over Limerick and Munster to attend the festival. Secretary of Comhaltas Ceoltóirí, Mr PJ Monsell from Dublin, thanked Abbeyfeale for organising the festival so successfully. Another hugely successful gathering was organised in Waterford in May 1954. By the newly formed Dungarvan branch, which was the first branch formed in Waterford. The festival featured competitions in the Friary Hall in Dungarvan, followed by a céilí with the Knocknagow Céilí Band. Later, on December the 19th, 1954, the first Cork Comhaltas branch formed in Kanturk organised their first annual festival of Irish traditional music and song in the CYMS Hall. Over 90 musicians, singers and dancers performed on the stage in a concert which lasted for several hours. Kanturk Fleadh Cheoil would continue to be a very popular annual event each winter throughout the 1950s and the early 1960s. The first Kerry Comhaltas branch was formed in Kenmare in 1955, with the branch holding their first festival on Sunday, June the 26th in the Carnegie Hall in Kenmare. Over 200 entries from throughout Munster were received for the competitions in music and song. As the branch network began to grow in Munster, branches began to join together to form county boards. The first of these was the Clare County Board, founded in April 1954. This committee would be central in bringing the All-Ireland Fleadh to Ennis in 1956. The first chairman was Reverend Saunders, while Sean Reid was appointed secretary of the new county board. Tipperary County Board of Comhaltas was founded in Thurlis in November 1957. The first chairman elected was Antahar Macsadler, Port Row, while the vice chairman was Sylvester Mockenwade, Kappa White. On the 1st of July 1959, the Waterford County Board of Comhaltas was formed in the Boys Club in Dungarvan. The first chairman was Liam Comerford, while the secretary was Humphrey Kelleher. Kerry County Board was inaugurated in December 1959 in the Castle Arms Hotel, Ballyhaig. The first chairman elected was Andrew Sheehy, Ballyhaig, and Diarmid O'Cahan, Lixnaw, was the first secretary. Cork County Board was formed in 1960, with Micheál O'Carroll from Kanturk being elected the first chairman and vice chairman John Ellard. Finally, Limerick County Board was founded in July 1961 in Kilmallock. Sean O'Carroll from Kilmallock was appointed chairman of the new county board. In 1960, it was decided that Comhaltas would form provincial councils. This decentralisation of authority and administration gave a new impetus to the development of the organisation, with membership increasing enormously, and Fleadh Cheoil becoming more streamlined and efficient, as entrance could now be channelled through 4 provincial Fleadhna. The first Munster convention was held at the Edel Quinn Hall in Kanturk, County Cork, on Sunday, July the 3rd, 1960. The first officers of the Munster Council elected were Cathaoirleach Sean Reid from County Clare, Las Cathaoirleach Sylvester Conway from Tipperary, Rooney Humphrey Kelleher from Waterford, and Kishtor Sarah Sheehan from Cork. The founding officers. Sean Reid. Born in Castlefin, County Donegal, Sean Reid was an able musician playing fiddle, pipes and piano. As well as a researcher and collector, Sean came to live in Ennis in 1936 to work as an engineer with Clare County Council. Through the travelling piper Johnny Doran, he got to know the pipers Willie Clancy and Martin Talty. He promoted the revival of piping in Clare, bringing a group of Clare pipers to compete in the Oireachtas gathering annually in the 1940s and 50s. He was a founder member of Comhaltas in Clare and a founder member and the first chairman of Comhaltas Comhaltas Units. He was also involved in the formation of na Píobarí and Scoil Saurig Willie Clancy, and he played with the Tulla Cayley band in the late 1940s. Sean was known to friends and acquaintances alike as Mr. Reid. When the Cushnahauna Centre in Ennis was built, his memory was honoured on a plaque erected in front of the building. Sylvester McConvig, a native of Lissycasey, County Clare, came to live in Capawhite, County Tipperary in November 1922 as an instructor in Irish, giving classes in Capawhite and in the surrounding areas. In 1931, he was appointed as headmaster of the new vocational school in Capawhite. In 1953-54, while Comhaltas Ceoltaí Éireann was still in its infancy in Munster, Sylvester founded the first branch of Comhaltas in Capawhite, the Kilnamanagh branch, and Sylvester approached all known musicians in County Tipperary and East Limerick, and they came together for practices in the local vocational school. He was a founder member and the first vice-chairman of the newly formed Comhaltas Units from 1960 to 1962. He also had the honour of serving as national president of Comhaltas from 1961 to 64, before returning to Comhaltas Units as chairman from 1965 to 1970. He travelled to Fleadhna all over Ireland, many of which he officially opened. His power of oratory was superb, and it was often surprising to his listeners that he could deliver a spirited speech in both Irish and English without reference to any notes. This he could do right up into his 80s. The Sylvester Conway branch was founded in his honour in Capawhite in 1989, and the branch hosted Fleadh Cheoil in 1992. Sylvester's memory lives on in his native Lissycasey, County Clare, and a special monument in his honour was recently unveiled at Fleadh Cheoil 2019 in Ennis. Humphrey Kelleher was born in Keelnamarthra, County Cork in 1918. A fluent Irish speaker, he had a passion for all things involving Irish culture. Humphrey settled in Dungarvan in the 1950s, where, along with people like Liam Comerford, Jack Tobin, Joe Fahey and others, he formed the first Comhaltas branch in Waterford County in 1953, 2 years after the foundation of Comhaltas in 1951. Like many other Comhaltas stalwarts, Humphrey did not play a musical instrument but worked to promote Irish culture using his great organisational skills. The All-Ireland Fleadh was held in Dungarvan in 1957 and the Munster Fleadh Cheoil followed in 1963. Humphrey was a founder member of the Waterford County Board of Comhaltas formed in 1960. In July of the same year he became the first secretary of the newly formed Comhaltas Units. Humphrey was very involved in drafting the Comhaltas Bunreacht and he also held the post of National Trustee from 1957 to 1965. He died in 1968 at the age of 50. Sarika Nihio, a native of Kanturk, will be remembered as a true stalwart of Comhaltas. She undertook a huge amount of work in the early years of Comhaltas to promote the culture and An Gaeilge using her great organisational skills. In the 1950s, she founded Fleadh Cheoil Kanturk, which was a most successful event held in Kanturk each winter. She also played a key role in the organisation of the very first Fleadh Cheoil Chorcaí held in Kanturk in 1962. She was also a highly efficient officer in whatever role she filled. Sarika was the first secretary of the Cork County Board of Comhaltas and later went on to become the first treasurer of the Munster Council of Comhaltas in 1960 and 1961. She worked as an English teacher in Scoilmhuire, Kanturk, where she was noted for having a gentle and understanding manner, which enabled her to bring out the best in her pupils. Sadly, Sarika died in August 2015, but her memory and her huge contribution to Comhaltas will live on. Since 1961, 14 inspirational leaders have held the position of chairman of the Munster Council. They have all made their mark on Comhaltas in the province, and each person has overseen various innovations and developments during their tenures, as they have steered the gradual growth and expansion of Comhaltas in the province over the years. Sean Reid, 1960 to 1961. Mícheál Cheoil, 1962 to 1963. A native of Dunmanway, County Cork, Mícheál had a long association with the Kanturk branch and Craibh Franchias Nail in Cork City. Mícheál was secretary of the first Kanturk Fleadh Cheoil in 1954. He had a great love of Irish culture and was a diligent administrator in the early days of the Munster Comhaltas. Mícheál was the first chairman of Cork County Board and the second Cathaoirleach of Comhaltas Units in 1962 and 1963. He also held a number of other positions at branch and county levels and will be remembered for his smile and quietly spoken personality, as well as his encouraging words to competitors at competitions. Seamus McMahona, 1964-1965. A highly respected traditional singer and musician from County Clare, Seamus McMahona has been to the fore in Comhaltas over the last 60 years. Through his association with Sean Reid, he became involved in Comhaltas and Clare in the late 1950s and was central to the development of Comhaltas and Clare and Munster in the early years of the organisation. He served as Munster chairman in 1964 and 1965. In the 1970s, he took up full-time employment with Comhaltas in Dublin as a Timorah Cheoil. His work brought Seamus into contact with some of the finest musicians and singers in Ireland, and he recorded many of them for inclusion in the Comhaltas archive, which he was instrumental in setting up. Sylvester McConvey, 1966 to 1970. John Dwyer, 1971. John Dwyer was born into a musical family in Castletownbere, County Cork. His brothers Michael, Finbar and Richard were all noted traditional musicians and composers. He played fiddle with the Shannonside Céilí Band and the Castle Céilí Band in Dublin before moving to the Rhine Gaeltacht in County Waterford. He was chairman of the Munster Council from 1971 to 1972 before he moved to New Ross, where he went on to play a key role in the resurgence of the New Ross branch of Comhaltas. John died in August 2020, but his legacy to Irish traditional music is remembered each year at the John Dwyer Music Festival in Waterford City. Brandán Fertair, 1972 to 1976. A native of Gaeltacht Corcagina in Kerry, Brandán was a proud native Irish speaker and took every opportunity to promote the Irish language in all Comhaltas activities. Brandán also had a deep interest in sean-nós singing and had a vast knowledge and appreciation of the Irish songs and singing styles of the Gaeltacht areas of the country. Brandán held a number of positions in Comhaltas at both county and provincial level. He was Cathaoirleach of Comhairle na Mún from 1972 to 1976. This was followed by a term as Munster delegate to the Ard Comhairle from 1978 to 1980. He was president of Comhairle na Mún then, a position he held from 1998 to 2004. Both Brandán and his wife Thrasa, who was herself a noted sean-nós singer and adjudicator, also served as the Kerry delegates to the Munster Council for many years. Brandán died in 2016 and is sadly missed by all in Comhaltas. Donald Barra, 1977. Donald Barra from Athay in West Limerick is a well-known musician and teacher who has made a huge contribution to Comhaltas and to Irish music in Munster. Donald served as treasurer and chairman of the Limerick County Board, and he also held the position of Reachtar na Mún from 1972 to 1975. He was chairman of the Munster Council for just 1 year in 1977, before going on to be elected to the position of National President of Comhaltas from 1979 to 1982, and later served a second term from 1988 to 1991. He remains actively involved today in his native Athay branch of Comhaltas.
So, winter gum le Comhairle na Mún na Comhaltas Ceoltóirí no million guys shocked the door stallum. No the hosting bay gober mar Reachtar na Mún. I was living in Liverpool, and Mary Coughlin was the chairperson in England at the time, and she said to me one day, "There's a job going in Comhaltas. Would you like to print for it?" And I said, "I don't know." So she did, and the interview was in at Fleadh Cheoil in Listowel, and I was lucky enough to get one of the positions. There were 4 Reachtarí, one for each province, and I was lucky enough to get the Munster one. So that meant I had to up sticks and come home, even though Noreen was expecting Sean at the time. So I had to come home and travel over every weekend for a while until Sean was born the following January, and we came back. He was 2 weeks old when we arrived back here. Now, it was a great experience because I got to know all of Munster and all the Comhaltas people in Munster through the job. Part of the job was building up the organisation, founding branches and helping the branches that were there, organising Fleadh Cheoil, all that kind of stuff, and working with the Munster Council. And it was great. It was a brilliant time, marvellous people. I'd have to take the trolls around to the branches at that time, and you go to Clare in the morning for a stop. We'd be Marty and Martin and go to Clare. Come in and sit down and eat the breakfast. Didn't matter whether you were hungry or not. Same with Kitty Lan. You're half starved there down in Kerry. She said, "Come on in and we'll have a bite to eat." So that was the kind of people we were dealing with. I'd work my way through Clare, on into Tipperary, down into Waterford, across to Cork and Kerry, and finished up in Limerick. Might take 2 or 3 days. Might take more at times. I remember on one occasion I was in Miltown Malbay, and I went into Fleadh's pub because it was kind of famous and I hadn't been in there before. And I was standing at the counter and I saw a man behind me in the mirror, and I thought it was Willie Clancy, but I'd never actually met Willie. And I didn't know what to do, but I got a plan anyway, so I started to whistle a bit of a reel.
And I got a tip on the shoulder, and he said, I see you likes the music. And do you play? So I walked to the car, put in the accordion, I left Thurlis 2 days later. So that was a longer trip through Munster than most of them now. But I also met some very, very interesting people as well. One of the first people I met now was very prominent in Comhaltas Munster, the Trassa and Brown Pamphlet here. And he was in Castlemaine at the time, he was teaching in Castlemaine. And we hit it off straight away because he said he had been in Atea and he'd been teaching in Atea. And he said he felt very much at home there because he'd come from the Gaeltacht, and he said in Atea we were speaking Irish through the medium of English. So I said he felt very, very much at home there. Oh, I could go on forever with all the people I met, but they're marvellous people. But anyway, I worked the flat for 4 years, and then they changed, and Rock to the Moon job was gone. There were 2 provinces put together, and Leinster and Munster, and I found it, you know, very, very, very hard going, because you could be up in Dundalk at a meeting tonight and have to be down in Banffy the following night, and it just wasn't there. No, I was at the same time, I was trying to get teachers to teach music around here, and they just weren't there. So I made a decision anyway, and I gave up the job and started teaching music. And I got involved in Comhaltas then at branch level, and then at county level, and I finished up chairman of the Munster Council, which led on to me becoming Uachtaráin of Comhaltas on 2 separate occasions. And it was marvellous time, the kind of work that was being done behind the scenes. Munster was very, very, very prominent at that time in innovation, building up the Fleadh Cheoil from just a weekend competition event to a festival, adding a night and another night, and now we have week-long festivals. They were also instrumental in bringing the Fleadh new to what it was. It started off in Dublin, and then wanted to get a province for it, and I got the job of recognising towns in Munster, and NS anyway got to go ahead, and sure, it's been there ever since. But it was, that's the kind of things that Munster were good at. They were always leaders in what they were doing, and now the result of it is there, because sure, no matter where you go in Munster now, the music is alive and strong and vibrant, and I know it's they're going to go on from strength to strength. They're not going to go away anywhere at the moment.
Diarmid O'Cahan, 1978 to 1979. From Lixnaw in County Kerry, Diarmid joined Comhaltas in 1959. He served in every capacity from branch to national level. He was a founder member of the Kerry County Board, serving as chairman and secretary. In 1968, he was appointed Rachtara na Moon, and as the organisation continued to develop, he was appointed Príomh Rachtara. He held the position of Munster chairman in 1978 before being elected as Ard Rooney the following year, and ultimately to the highest office in Comhaltas, that of Uachtaráin, from 1991 to 1994. He was the 14th president of Comhaltas and also one of its greatest. Noted for his organisational skills, Diarmid's legacy lives on in the Cheoil and Tac Cheoil in Lixnaw, which Diarmid developed in the 1980s.
Do you know, this night it takes us back over the years. Agus is fadan láni showing Ceadúr a Hanmer go Counturk. In those days, they had a wonderful fairy Cheoil here, better than lots of the Fleadh Cheoil that we had in those days. And God knows to hold its own with any of the Fleadh we have nowadays too, maybe. It's nice to see some of the people that we used to meet around in those days. Mick Williams is over there looking hale and happy. And we had a very young lady at the time, and she still looks the same. She hasn't changed a day. Sarah Sheehan over here at my left. We were down Little Quinn Hall in those days and we had a great crack there. It was in the month of November. They didn't mind about the risk of the snow or the ice, but they kept going. And just people like that kept Comhaltas going too, possibly, and kept the music and the singing going when all these things weren't as popular as they are nowadays. I think I just have a bull of boss for that. In the county Roscommon, they thought they were true to the Odd Island final 1962. They forgot that the kingdom had hatfuls of tricks. They had bet them before in 1946. And O'Connell, a lad from Valentia, the pride of the kingdom was he. Oh, down in Killarney, the plans that were laid, for a ball is a ball and a spade is a spade. And with Dr. Raymond, the boys did prepare to fight on the ground and to win in the air. With O'Connell, a lad from Valentia, the pride of the kingdom was he.
Paddy Halpin, 1979 to 1980. From Ballymacarbery in County Waterford, Paddy served as chairman of the Waterford County Board for a number of years. He became vice chairman of the Munster Council in 1975 before serving as chairman from 1979 to 1980. He remained actively involved in Comhaltas and Waterford up to his death in 1992. Micheál O'Loughlin, 1981 to 1985. Micheál was born in Carron, County Clare, but spent most of his life living in Cork, where he dedicated himself completely to the promotion of Comhaltas. He was chairman of the Cork County Board for 21 years before he became chairman of the Munster Council in 1981, a position he held until 1985, when he received the highest honour and was elected national president of Comhaltas from 1985 to 1988. He also held the position of registrar for a number of years, later becoming national trustee. Micheál was also honorary president of Comhaltas na Moon, an honour he held until his death in 1997. Seamus O'Cruthúr, 1985 to 1989. From Ballyhaig, County Kerry, James O'Connor has been a leading figure in Comhaltas in Munster over the years. He was a member of Comhaltas na Moon from 1977 to 1989, serving as Munster Treasurer from 1977 to 1982, as Ard Comhaltas Delegate from 1981 to 1984, and finally Munster Chairperson from 1985 to 1989. As well as being an active member of Ballyhaig branch, he also held the position of Chairman of the Kerry County Board. During his tenure as County Chairman, he oversaw the development of the Dúchas Centre in Tralee, and was an accomplished producer of the Tralee Session Group. Christopher O'Shea, 1990 to 1991. Christopher O'Shea was a true Comhaltas man who had worked on behalf of Comhaltas at branch, county and provincial levels over a long number of years, where he was held in the highest regard as a capable administrator. He was also actively involved in Comhaltas na Moon, holding the positions of Munster PRO from 1977 to 79 and Vice Chairman from 1985 to 1990, before becoming Munster Chairman in 1990, sadly for a short period before his untimely death in April of 1991. Tomás Ó Maildownig, 1991 to the year 2000. From Cappamore, County Limerick, Tomás Ó Maildownig became Vice Chairman of Comhaltas na Moon in 1990, before taking over as Chairman 1 year later, following the death of Christopher O'Shea. He served as Cathaoirleach until the year 2000, when he was elected as Ardhrúnaí of Comhaltas Ceoltarí Éireann.
Is mise Tomás Ó Maildownig, agus time mar Ardhrúnaí Comhaltas Ceoltarí Éireann of an bhliain 1999 go dtí inmh. Riime sin bhí anna bhainte gom le Comhaltas Ceoltarí Éireann sa chúnda Liminaí agus dar nói Comhaltas na Moon. My involvement in Comhaltas has been long. First of all at local level in my own branch in Maru, Cappamore area, subsequently in County Limerick as chairperson or Cathaoirleach of Cúnda Liminaí for about 9 years, I think. And at the same time I happened to be Cathaoirleach of Comhaltas na Moon. That was from about 1991 until 1999. And I remember distinctly what happened in 1991. Unfortunately, our former chairperson Christopher O'Shea sadly passed away, and we were preparing for Fleadh Cheoil na Moon, which was on Gleown, Corbree, Cúnda Liminaí in that particular year, 1991, and he passed away during that particular period, and subsequently I had to take on the role of Cathaoirleach of Comhaltas na Moon. Also at that particular time I recall a very great man in County Limerick, Sean Padraig O'Carroll, who was Cathaoirleach of the Fleadh Committee, Fleadh Cheoil na Moon Committee in Glynn, and he also passed away just prior to the hosting of the Fleadh. So from that particular period I stayed in Cathaoirleach of Comhaltas na Moon, and because I was elected a Cathaoirleach of Comhaltas na Moon at that time, I also was Vice Chair of the Ardchomhaile of Comhaltas Ceoltarí Éireann. And then in 1999, just as we prepared for Congress of 1999, we got the very sad news of the passing of the previous General Secretary, Sean O'Keehan, who passed away on the morning of Congress of Saturday morning. So what we did was suspended Congress, and I was requested by the Standing Committee of Ardchomhaile on that Saturday evening, would I consider just filling in the position of Ardhrúnaí temporarily for that particular year until the subsequent Congress of 2000, which I did, and I allowed my name to be go forward for nomination in 2000, and I was elected, and subsequently I have been elected every year since then. I've had an amazing relationship with Comhaltas Ceoltarí Éireann during that particular term of office. I've had the great opportunity to represent Comhaltas at many occasions, both nationally and abroad as well. And I have had the great opportunities to actually represent Comhaltas at North American conventions, many of which are hosted by branches of Comhaltas right across the continent of North America.
Tadhg Ó Mailcatha, 2000 to the present day. From Temple Glanton in County Limerick, Tadhg Ó Mailcatha was the first PRO of the Munster Council from 1972 to 1975. He later became Vice Chairman of the Munster Council in 1991, an officership he held up to the year 2000, when he assumed the position of Cathaoirleach na Moon. Following the first Fleadh Cheoil, which was organised in 1951 in Mullingar, the province of Munster has successfully hosted Fleadh Cheoil na Éireann on a record 26 occasions, in the towns of Listowel, Clonmel, Ennis, Thurlis, Cashel and Dungarvan. 1956, Ennis. Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann came to Munster for the first time in 1956, with Ennis County Clare hosting the Fleadh. It is generally recognised that the 1956 Fleadh in Ennis played a pivotal role in the revival of traditional Irish culture, with the organising committee, under the stewardship of Sean Reid, devising an innovative and exciting new format for the Fleadh weekend. An estimated crowd of 40,000 visitors converged on Ennis for the Fleadh, as huge crowds thronged the town's streets to watch a colourful mile-long parade featuring over 1,000 participants. A cultural pageant written by Brian McMahon, entitled The Four Green Fields, which was performed in Cusack Park, was one of the highlights of the weekend. Unlike modern-day Fleadh, there were no provincial qualifying rounds, so all competitions had to take place over the weekend, with various qualifying rounds being held on the same day. One of the highlights of the competition was Clare's Kilfenora Céilí Band winning the All-Ireland title in the Senior Céilí Band competition for the third year in a row. The success of the Fleadh of 1956 inspired Clare singer Robbie McMahon to compose one of his most famous ballads, The Fleadh Down in Ennis.
It's about the Fleadh Cheoil down in Ennis, you see. So to me will you pay your attention? I'm not a great singer, but I know there are worse. I cannot help trying to sing you a verse that to let you all know how the Fleadh Cheoil got on, and for you now who couldn't attend these.
1957 in Dungarvan. Fleadh na hÉireann remained in Munster in 1957, with Dungarvan, County Waterford hosting the 7th annual Fleadh. The town was brightly decorated with bunting and flags as a large gathering of musicians, singers and dancers arrived in Dungarvan for the 3-day event. Dr. Colahan, Bishop of Waterford, performed the official opening in the Gaelic Field, followed by an opening parade and pageant. The weekend also included céileatha, concerts and competitions. There was some disappointment amongst the people of Dungarvan, however, at the numbers which attended, as the expected huge crowds which had thronged Ennis the previous year did not make the journey to Dungarvan. 1959, Thurlis. Large numbers of people packed the Tipperary town of Thurlis in 1959, as the popularity of the Fleadh continued to grow. Thousands of visitors enjoyed a warm sunny weekend in Thurlis, while musicians playing in impromptu sessions were to be found in every corner of the town. A huge opening parade through the streets of Thurlis, featuring marching bands and floats, was one of the main attractions of the weekend. The record number of competitors entering the competitions ensured that the adjudicators had a difficult task, and there were numerous recalls over the Fleadh weekend. (1965) Thurlis. Fleadh Cheoil 1965 took place for the second time in Thurlis, County Tipperary. For the first time this year, only qualifiers in the 4 provincial Fleadh were eligible to compete in the competitions, with a special provincial competition being held for overseas entrants. A week of cultural activities entitled Irish Week preceded the main Fleadh weekend. 1969, Cashel. Over 70,000 visitors attended the 1969 Fleadh, which was held in Cashel, County Tipperary. This was opened by Cashel native and president of Comhaltas Units O'Murracu. There was no shortage of music sessions on the streets of the town, as thousands of musicians gathered to share tunes and songs throughout the Fleadh. Tributes were paid to the organisers and the people of Cashel for their excellent organisation of the event. 1970, Listowel. Listowel hosted the Fleadh for the first time in 1970, and it was remembered by all who attended as one of the best Fleadh. It was a superb weekend of the finest music, dancing and street sessions by the banks of the Fleadh, as the focus of the Fleadh firmly returned to our traditional music, with no negative incidents being reported over the duration of the week. The success of the Fleadh in 1970 would lay the foundations for many more Fleadhna in Listowel in the decades which followed. 1972, 73 and 74, Listowel. Listowel firmly established itself as a most suitable venue for the Fleadh, being the first town to host the Fleadh for 3 consecutive years in 1972, 1973 and 1974. A new initiative at the Listowel Fleadh in 1973 was the introduction of the Scoil Éigse workshops in a lead up to the main Fleadh weekend. All 3 Fleadhna in 72, 73 and 74 were hugely successful, and the Listowel Organising Committee, led by Michael Dowling, proved their expertise and efficiency at organising the Fleadh, while the people of Listowel ensured a warm welcome was extended to all visitors from far and near who attended the Fleadhna. 1977, Ennis. Following the hugely successful Fleadh in 1956, Ennis staged the Fleadh for the second time in 1977, with a record attendance of over 100,000 visitors converging on the streets of Ennis. President of Comhaltas, Martin McCabe, officially opened the Fleadh with the weekend programme featuring an exciting lineup of concerts, céileatha, sessions and competitions, which was enjoyed by all who attended the Fleadh in 1977 in Ennis. In 1978, Listowel. The All-Ireland Fleadh Cheoil remained in the province of Munster in 1978, with Listowel once again hosting the Fleadh for the 5th occasion. It was to be another memorable weekend in North Kerry for the huge crowds who packed the streets of Listowel, with the sound of music filling the iconic town square. High praise was heaped on the people of Listowel for accommodating the 100,000 visitors who came to the Fleadh from all corners of the globe. 1981 and 1982, Listowel. The Fleadh was back in Listowel in 1981 and 1982, and all visitors to Listowel both years experienced a now customary superb Fleadh weekend in Kerry. The unique atmosphere of a Listowel Fleadh was again in evidence, with fine weather and the best of Irish music, song and dancing cementing Listowel's reputation as the home of Fleadh Cheoil na hÉir. (1985, 86 and 87, Listowel). Listowel had the honour of being the host town for another 3 consecutive years in 1985, 86 and 87, which was another huge achievement for Michael Dowling and his dynamic organising committee. Each year brought thousands of visitors to enjoy the magic of Listowel Fleadh Cheoil, as the Fleadh steadily grew in popularity, with standards and competitions increasing each year. 1992, 1993 and 1994, Clonmel. The Fleadh returned to County Tipperary for the first time since 1969, with the town of Clonmel hosting the 92, 93 and 94 Fleadh. It proved to be a most suitable host town for the Fleadh, with record numbers of 150,000 attending each year. Visitors from home and abroad returned home singing the praises of Clonmel, with the 3 memorable Fleadh held here in 1992, 93 and 94, which will live long in the memory of the people of Clonmel.
And delete neither chicken nor veal.
Excellent, Damien, excellent.
We are told that the habit of rearing the rabbit for the love of its meat that is wrong. As for ivory and leather, some people would rather put them back where they rightly belong.
1995 and 96, Listowel. The Fleadh remained in Munster in 1995 and 96, once again returning to the town of Listowel after a gap of 8 years. The town again lived up to its reputation as the home of the Fleadh, organising 2 brilliant weekends, full of music, song, dance and most importantly, the unique Listowel Fleadh atmosphere which has made the town such a popular venue over the years. (2001 and 2002). Listowel was a most fitting choice of venue for the 50th anniversary Fleadh in the year 2001, and the town was also selected again to host in 2002 as Listowel staged the Fleadh for a record 14th occasion. Tributes were paid to the extraordinary work of Michael Dowling, who had chaired 13 of the 14 Fleadh held in Listowel, and his highly efficient secretary, Marie O'Gorman, aided by their hard-working committee. On so many occasions between 1970 and 2002, the people of Listowel opened their homes and hearts to the world, and they have earned for themselves an unrivalled place in our nation's cultural history. 2003-2004, Clonmel. Once again, Clonmel proved itself to be an exceptional venue for the Fleadh in 2003 and 2004, and they were described by many who attended as one of the best ever Fleadh, ensuring that the town of Clonmel will always hold a unique place in the history of Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann. 2016-2017 Ennis. After a gap of 12 years, Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann returned to Munster, with Ennis staging the Fleadh for the third and fourth occasions. The Ennis organising committee worked tirelessly to ensure that both Fleadh in Ennis would promote the strong cultural traditions of County Clare and continue the successful association of Ennis and Fleadh Cheoil na hÉireann. Attended by over 400,000 visitors, both Fleadh were regarded as exceptional events which the people of Ennis and County Clare can be justly proud of. The 40th anniversary of Comhaltas Units 2002. A special day was held on the 6th of October 2002 at Kanturk to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the founding of Comhaltas Units on July the 3rd, 1960 in Kanturk. Over 300 members and friends of bygone days from all corners of Munster gathered to celebrate the founding of the Munster Council in Kanturk. As the Edel Quinn Hall was being refurbished in 2000, the celebration date was deferred until October 2002 so that we could gather at the founding spot. A special plaque sculpted by Dan Collins of Neelan was unveiled by Cathaoirleach Comhaltas Units Taig O'Mail Caha in the presence of 3 of the surviving founder members of the Munster Council, Courtney Hoosh from County Limerick and John Joe Brosnan and Michael Lucy, both from Kanturk. Before the unveiling, Courtney Hoosh, who was the All-Ireland Fiddle Slow Airs champion in 1963, played a slow air on the fiddle. Guest of honour on the day was Ord Stúrthóir of Comhaltas Laurás O'Murrachu, who presented each of the surviving founder members with a certificate commemorating the day. An interesting display of memorabilia and photos on events in the province over the past 40 years adorned the walls of the hall, which created great interest as people travelled Bohereen na Suinte. The music on the day was provided by the junior positions of Fremont and Rock Chapel branches. Musicians from all counties joined in the session, along with some singers and dancers, to complete a day full of reminiscing with Cheoil, Caint, Aurán agus Dausa. It was a nostalgic evening, tinged with sadness as we remembered those visionary people no longer with us, who in challenging times wished to see our traditional music and culture preserved for future Irish people. In their wildest dreams they could not have imagined the crowds that would flock to the Fleadh in the years ahead.